Stop counting the days lost in the rhythm.
The Federal Reserve officials have agreed to proceed cautiously when it comes to raising U.S. interest rates. According to the minutes of their last policy meeting, they will only consider raising rates if incoming information shows insufficient progress in lowering inflation. The officials acknowledged that further tightening of monetary policy may be necessary if the committee's inflation objective is not being met. The release of the minutes led to slight losses in U.S. stocks, while the U.S. dollar strengthened against other currencies and U.S. Treasury yields slipped. During the meeting, the policymakers grappled with conflicting economic signals. On one hand, the U.S. economy had experienced a strong 4.9% annualized growth in the third quarter, which could potentially lead to inflation. On the other hand, financial markets had driven up interest rates, posing a threat to economic and job growth. Despite this, inflation remained above the central bank's target, indicating that a restrictive stance on monetary policy may need to be maintained until inflation shows sustained downward movement. The minutes reflect a shift in the Fed's policy dialogue, with a focus on the conditions for further rate hikes and the duration of the current policy rate. Fed Chair Jerome Powell has emphasized the need for caution in balancing inflation, credit conditions, and the potential slowdown of the economy. The Fed is unlikely to raise the target interest rate further. But policymakers are hesitant to make any definitive statements while inflation remains above the target. There is reason to exercise caution, as the Fed aims to navigate the current inflationary surge without causing significant damage to the economy. A study by the New York Fed suggests that the late start in raising interest rates allowed for more economic growth while still making progress on lowering inflation. However, policymakers are not ready to declare victory or provide clear guidance to investors about future actions. While some investors believe that the Fed is done raising rates, the minutes did not address this possibility. The minutes indicate that officials are still uncertain if the policy rate is sufficiently restrictive to combat inflation. The decision to maintain the current rate will depend on how inflation behaves and whether progress is made towards the 2% target. Overall, the minutes reveal a cautious approach by the Federal Reserve, with a focus on carefully monitoring inflation and economic conditions before making any further decisions on interest rates.